Good afternoon, good evening. I thought I'd do another stream. I've been sick for a couple of days, which is not ideal, and that's why I haven't done an update for a few days, which is not ideal given that Bitcoin's been actually doing something interesting for a change. And although to be fair, I guess it's kind of stopped having done something interesting, so it actually hasn't done anything more interesting since then. I'll just have a quick look at Tradfi first, because I think the indices are very much driving what Bitcoin's doing at the moment, and obviously the ETFs are Tradfi and they're still selling as far as I can gather. So the dollar, I think I've already talked about in previous streams, has hit this annual level or annual zone, and it's a very big zone. It goes all the way down to I think 99 here, the big grey area. And yeah, it's sort of showing signs of trying to hold, but hasn't done any sort of reversal yet. It did have a gap just at the low where the current low is, and then it's got another gap lower. So I don't know if it's still trying to push to kind of get down to that lower gap, or it can, like I say, it can go deeper into the demand if it wants to. But yeah, so I've just been watching that for signs of reversal, and then for potentially to start looking for shorts on the euro and on the pound. But I question whether it's quite ready also, because Aussie and New Zealand I feel like aren't in quite the right spot. So I don't know if we're going to get some movement on Aussie and New Zealand and have the pound and the euro still hang out for a while before anything actually happens. But we'll see anyway. But yeah, no change on that really since the last update. The indices also have just continued to drop. So each level, so I've got quite a few of them on this chart, but mainly looking at these top three, the Dow, the S&P, and then the Nasdaq. And let me just switch my cursor light on if I can, so you can see where I am. But yeah, so they've been hitting major zones and but basically have just been getting small bounces and only rejecting the immediate supplies. So I think S&P had a monthly level here, but only got a tiny bounce off it, another 2 weekly level, and I think I said the 2 week and the 3 week I had alerts on, and again, very little bounce so far anyway, and it is trying to hold here today. It looked like it might drop earlier after CPI, but it's trying to hold here for now. I'm starting to think, these are, the drop they've had is significant, and while I still would like a retrace to get a bigger short, I am kind of looking probably now at lower levels on these, and we need to see monthly closes and things like that, but they have like now broken. So in the case of S&P, let's go to the monthly, spread my chart out a bit, like it's broken now significantly below the monthly zone in here. And yes, it can still swing fail because we've still got a couple of weeks of the month left, so it can still bounce in these lower zones. And I thought, to be fair, like I did say on that alert that I had up there, that I thought it wasn't a good zone and it was likely it was going to come through into this lower area. But, now we're looking for, are we going to get a retest for a bigger drop? So I've now got, alerts for shorts up here, and then potentially looking at this monthly zone down here, or even the annual lower. Nasdaq, I posted in my channel like just a picture of the chart earlier, and again, like I don't like trend lines particularly, because I've seen too many fail, but we are getting a break of this major trend line since the start of January 2023, and still in 2 month demand, but again, like it's come through a monthly. And each alert that I've had a few quite close together. It's got to bounce off the first one, it's got to bounce off the second one, but each of them doesn't get past either daily or 12-hour supply. So I'm now like wondering, are we going to get a rejection here and just fall down off the trend line, or are we going to get a bigger retest, but again, weekly supply above? So I was looking back earlier at what the previous correction did. So, and obviously it doesn't have to follow the previous correction. So S&P only went to the 50% retracement, but Nasdaq went to the 61% fib. So if we went to the 61% fib on Nasdaq, then we'd be down in this monthly demand inside the bigger annual zone here. So yeah, excuse me, I really need to clean up these charts. I've got so much mess on them now from the lower time frames that I haven't deleted. But yeah, and I do think it's sort of possible now we start looking at these lower zones. But we need to see it, like, we're still on this 2 month demand, so I don't want to preempt it preempt it too much. Can still bounce from here and can still bounce from here and make a new high. We are still in an uptrend here, but obviously, you know, so it still needs to break all the way down here to be in a downtrend, but even then it can just bounce, swing fail these lows. But that is the last significant up move. So still holding that uptrend, but obviously this is the biggest drop that we've had, or we had a decent sized drop back in August last year, but it's a decent sized drop now, so we need to see what retest we're going to get off this. And obviously this doesn't necessarily bode well for Bitcoin as well. If the indices are going to come down much deeper, Dow's the same. So Dow, I think, you know, is again, it's broken a monthly zone here, could still swing fail, but at the moment is below that level. It's got some weeklies in here and then a 3-month zone lower, but again, if it wants to retrace at like more to a decent 50% to 60% fib level, so they're just below the 50%, we've got this annual level. And you know, it is possible now, having had this decent sized drop here, that we're going to retest and a lower high in the case of the Dow. Lower high now and a lower low, that it is much more likely that we're going to get a rejection on a retest for a bigger drop. So yeah, overall this obviously doesn't bode that well for Bitcoin. So let's go and look at the Bitcoin chart. So you'll know, if you follow my previous streams, that this zone here, this in red that I've got, was the kind of area that I wanted to hold, which obviously then didn't. So then it created a monthly supply. So we got the short of the monthly supply, which has brought it deeper. And then, you know, obviously I had disclaimed like higher low possibilities for longs, which I did give scalps, but obviously didn't make the higher high off those. And now we've come down into this 12-hour zone, which was one of the interims. I had an interim zone here on the 4-hour. I've hidden some of the old annotations now, but I had an interim zone here on the 4-hour, which it went deep. I think it actually dipped just through it before the bounce. And now we've come down to this 12-hour. And at the same point, this has filled the CME gap that we've had for a long time since November 2024, so we filled that CME gap, so not overly surprising it's had a bounce there. This is not necessarily a solid level that I particularly wanted to long at, but again, if you followed my previous streams, you'll know, like, I was looking at interim levels. My preference has always been below 72k and this 3-month demand, and obviously it's a big zone and can go much deeper in that. It's also not a particularly good 3-month demand, and it would not surprise me with this type of distribution above if we just run through this, and that's something I've been thinking about a lot recently. But you know, we'll see what happens when we get there. But yeah, sort of 72, then there's another CME gap at 66, which would take out the monthly low. So we've got the monthly, so I've got a more aggressive alert just for there's a 4-day sitting on just at the top of the 3 months, so I've got an alert there. Then there's a 3-week, I think, or a weekly just inside it. That's all-time high from 2021. We've also got the CME gap a bit lower, and then a monthly inside it, and a bunch of CME gaps beyond that. So I don't think I've run the fibs on this particularly. So there's the fib from just that last up move from August till now. The 61 fib again falls around that CME gap and that monthly low. So looking at taking out that around, what's that, 66,800 level is a reasonable area to look for longs, I think. If this is the top and then we retrace this entire up move, which I think is possible, then the 61 fib is significantly lower. But the only thing is, I don't really like where the 61 fib is. I mean, the 70 would be a preferable zone to look for longs. Seem to have lost another line off my chart there, so I'm just going to put that back quickly while I'm here. What's that? I think that's a 2-month. Is there a 2-month or a 3-month demand in there? It's a 3-month demand, yeah. So there's, because that's the other issue with this, and I'll just remove my drawing so you can see on the higher time frame. So much for this being my higher time frame chart. But yeah, so we've got a 3-month demand right here that you see, and then this untested 3-month down here as well. And if we do the normal 80% drop, if this is the top, then it's certainly within reason that it gets down to that 3-month demand. You know, we've got the original 3 months to get through. We've got an annual level in here, so I would also potentially expect a bounce off the top of, what's that, 45, 46 area. But But yeah, we just need to see. I mean, and you can certainly, while we're still in this sort of annual uptrend, you can see that that parabola is starting to roll over a bit, presuming this is the top. And it may not be the top because we typically have, I think, 3 candle rises. But again, if the parabola is rolling over, and I think there is history before this chart, but yeah, so 3 green candles and then the red 3 green candles. So at the moment we're showing a red candle, but it could, obviously it's got a year, it can turn out to be green if it wants to. So yeah, in the short term, while we bounced on that interim level I wanted, my preference is for a little bit lower at least. And yeah, so to go back to what I was saying before, when we had this consolidation here, obviously, while we wanted initially this weekly zone for the long, obviously we bounced multiple times before that, so I didn't want to kind of miss out on loads of scalps in the interim, and hence why I kind of commented on these interim zones and why I put a question mark there for a possibility of a bounce on this interim zone. From the short side, we've now got a new 5-day supply above. I think it was a 4-day and it converted to a 5-day yesterday. I did an update in text in my Telegram channel, and I said I was looking at the 8-hour inside that. I wanted this zone to actually get hit at the weekend. I was hoping with this tiny little consolidation we'd have here would wick up into there before the drop, but we didn't get that. However, obviously we now have got a CME gap above. I've got the stops from the weekend and this sort of mini trend line we've got going on there if you look at the low time frames, and then this untested 8-hour supply in here. So that would be kind of my initial thought on looking for short entries. This is a weak 5-day supply, just be conscious of that. So because the 5-day, it's wicked below but hasn't closed below, it's a weaker zone, so it is possible that this runs up and takes out the high of the zone and then gets back up into this weekly level up here that we haven't yet had tested. So don't be surprised if that happens. Having said that, it is a 5-day supply. It is at the point of breakdown from this red box that I was looking at. So again, yeah, I think it's definitely worth looking for shorts there. And following the CME gap fill, potentially. The only other thing in its favour actually with this potentially being the low is that it actually hit this trend line as well. So we've got a trend line that's running, it's on the log scale, running from the bottom, zoom out so you can see it, all the way from the bottom at October 2023. So it's not the bottom. So the final bottom is using the first 2 lows, it comes in lower. But if you run this trend line from the October low, October 2023 low, and then through the wick of the last consolidation, we've actually just hit this trend line. Now, it may be coincidental, it's not the perfect trend line because it's not coming from the ultimate low. But at least there's some confluence for a bounce there. So yeah, we just need to see what kind of builds up from here. If anything, I mean, it's very much looking like a distribution pattern across the high, and that does make me slightly nervous. And I can obviously see similarities to ETHBTC distributing in a similar manner, with that was off a lower high rather than a higher high. But I guess, yeah, we want to see it come down into here and then maybe some reaccumulation going on in here before another move up. Lower time frame, I'll just show you the, so those got the same 5-day drawn in here, that same little trend line that we had from the week, we're potentially taking the weekend stops if we do get another run up from here. It does seem to be struggling actually more than I thought here, but it's also become quite choppy. There's the 5-day zone, there's also a 3-day and I think a 2-day at different levels in there, so it's come up to just short of the 2-day but inside the 3-day. But like I say, because they've got the CME gap higher and then this untested 8-hour supply above, it's possible it runs a little bit higher. If indices hold, that's going to be the other probably fairly critical. I was contemplating long entries on this, and I haven't placed one as yet. I mean, possibly down here, obviously, if you want the higher low. It did have this hourly here, or 2 hourly, but it's already been tested, and then it's made this 4 hours. So at the moment, there's kind of nothing that I really want to look for longs on, because I feel like the test's already been done, and it does make me conscious that if we do come back down here, that then we can still revisit that 3-month zone below. But yeah, on the short side, as I've said, 8-hour supply up here, and I think there was kind of a couple of little stops that could have got taken above there. There are trend line stops, and as I say, it's a weak zone, so possibly it can run through here, and then I'd be looking up in this weekly supply based on this swing fail of the low, take out this high. But yeah, we'll see what happens. Just look provisionally, so yeah, provisionally 88, 89k for shorts, being conscious that it's weak supply, and then for better shorts, potentially 96 and above, if it revisits in that direction. And we're going to need to see significantly more strength on this for that to happen, really, because ETFs have like very much been selling, and I'll go quickly to show you the data. You'll probably reload this because I think it doesn't update automatically. So yeah, we've had throughout the day today, we had, oops, scroll back up. So this morning we had a lot of BlackRock selling, or 8 hours ago, I guess that would have been, yeah, that's sort of the end of London. So we had a lot of BlackRock selling going on. Then we did appear to have one buy from WisdomTree, but I'm not 100% sure if it's just transfers. Valkyrie's done some selling. Grayscale sold double what it normally does. And then Franklin Templeton, Bitwise, and then again WisdomTree have all sort of had sells later in the day. And yeah, and it's just been ongoing, really. Looking at the aggregated data, the selling is less than it was a week ago. So this is the aggregated data from one of the sources. So 300, 369, 409 for the last few days. This is in millions of dollars, so US dollar millions, so $370 million, etc. So not as much as this previous week or the last week of February, which was like, it went up to 1 billion sells in a day, but still not great, and still not really. There would seem to be a little bit of a sign of buying coming in the middle, but no, it's died off again now, and everybody's selling quite strongly. So there's not really anything on there that I think is really warranting long-term buys on this as yet. And yeah, you can see from the higher time frame chart, like it's still very much sort of floating on a zone in the middle of nowhere. So we'll see. I think that's pretty much it on Bitcoin. I don't think Korea. So the Korea pair is still holding that weekly zone with the nasty wick that it had. So I guess that's the other thing that is probably worth considering, actually. So while the 3-month zone on the US dollar pair isn't far off, so it would only require a dip sort of say around to here, the 3-month zone on the Korea pair is significantly lower. So I would be looking for confluence on this, and my preference would be to look for longs, when both are confluence. So if this comes down to the 100 million area on the Korea pair, then I'd be more inclined to look for longs. So let's just have a look at the percentages. So if we drop from here to the 3-month, that would be a 17% drop on the Korea pair, which then on the US dollar pair, %, would take us to around that weekly inside the 3 months. So it might be too aggressive to just go straight in off the top, but potentially down in this weekly area, or again, like I said, taking out that monthly low at 66,800. So don't necessarily feel the need to FOMO in right on the top of the 3 month if you're a long-term investor. Like if you're a trader, obviously you should be waiting for low time frames anyway. If you're a long-term investor, bear in mind this 3 month is a huge zone, and it can come at any time down. It can come much deeper inside it. It can spend significant time inside it if it wants, and then also it's got the untested annual and 3-month zones below, so there's no reason it can't fall straight through that zone as well if it wants to do a bigger correction. So don't be FOMOing in straight away. I think even from an investment perspective, and then from a trading perspective, we just look at each of the levels as they're hit and wait for structure to tell us to give us an entry. Yeah, so that's about it on Bitcoin. On Ethereum, so Ethereum, the BTC pair is just still horrendous. It just, every time it bounces, it rejects any local supply, and it's just been a never-ending downtrend. Now since like January 2022 or something. So why have I lost? I've lost another level off this as well. Losing levels at random. Maybe they're not loading, and I'll find they're in twice later. So yeah, I was initially looking for the bounce off the 3-month zone, which was, I think, a little bit higher up here. Yeah, that's the 3-month. We've now actually taken out the low of that 3-month zone. So, you know, it's possible we swing fail here. So again, that's worth considering. But the other thing I had noted previously is that these lows haven't quite gone into the 2-month zone down here either. So again, it's possible this still goes lower, but I don't know, we're just watching, because, you know, for every bounce we've got has just been shot straight back down again, so there's like no interest in Ether at all at the moment. And at some point I'm sure it'll kick in, and I'm sure I'll probably miss it, because Ether is likely to throw a massive candle when it wants to on the BTC pair anyway. The other issue I've got is, so the US dollar pair is just horrible. So again, I talked many times before about, you know, I was looking for longs on this monthly, but that I said it was a weak zone, and, you know, it barely got any bounce off that zone. Well, it took a wick all the way to the bottom, so if you got in at the bottom, it got a decent bounce, but barely got any bounce off that zone, certainly not up into supply before dropping deeper. It's now hit 3-month demand, and similar to Bitcoin, so we're in this 3-month demand, but we have this untested one lower. And additionally, from the same perspective as that monthly I just spoke about up here being weak, this is also weak demand, because it hasn't managed to break the previous high. So, and the same for this, so both these demands, all this demand is weak. That doesn't mean it won't pick up. We do make triangles, and, you know, it is possible that this becomes a, I swear I've lost half the drawings on this. You know, that it is possible, yeah, that we do, you know, I'll put the low as where it is now, but it is possible this makes a triangle, makes a higher low, you know, it's probably going to come in lower, but it makes a higher low here and then moves up. But at the moment what we're looking at is a giant double top, and I've called this out before, and I'll show my bar pattern, like it didn't give me the retracement I wanted. I will clean up these charts before the next stream, because this is crazy with all the crosses up there. It's what happens when the price just drops too hard. It then gives me so many zones that I'm interested in for re-entries, and if it doesn't test any of them, they then get left behind. Anyway, yeah, so I had looked previously at, so I'll just hide this again a second. So what I'd looked at was this structure here, and it was, yeah, very similar, but again on the lower time frame. So we had a bounce, unable to take out the high, came and retested that level, obviously a weak zone, and then dropped it, did get a bounce, but then dropped down. So what I did was transpose that smaller pattern onto the bigger. So again, we got the bounce here like I thought, but it didn't bounce very long nor very hard, didn't even give a decent retest. So I was really hoping this bounce would give a retest up in weekly supply, but didn't give that, and has just dropped straight down from there. And obviously it doesn't have to be identical, but that was just, would have been nice if this had given a proper retest. It did actually give a 61 Fib retest from the last drop, I think, when it came up to here. But yeah, not from the whole down move. And we could still get that now, obviously, like I said, it doesn't have to look identical. But there was the main point to be made was that this was weak demand. So in the same vein, this weak demand, so didn't really get a bounce here at all in this case, and has just dropped straight through it. The other issue we've now got is the bigger picture. So we have the same structure again, go to the weekly, potentially in the bigger picture. We've got weak demand, unable to break the high, so we're going to come down deep inside here. Maybe we get that bounce, or maybe we don't again, and then drop. So I think, you know, just be very, very careful of what you're doing with Ether. You know, obviously we trade zones as they're hit. You know, I still have zones here. We're in a 3 monthly demand. It bounced off for 2 months previously. We've got a 3 month down here that's untested. So we can still watch those for bounces to get interim scalps. But again, from the bigger picture perspective, it isn't out of the realms of possibility that this is a large double top and is going to drop significantly lower. But anyway, for now, we've hit this 3 month demand. So again, I've talked previously that I have the alert. Oh, lost my mouse. I had the alert on the top of the zone, and then I have various alerts sort of inside the zone, and I hadn't really thought it through in masses of detail before. I just put an alert on the top, an alert on the 3 week, and then, you know, obviously there's other zones. But so we just front ran my alert on for the 3 week, and again, I think this is similar to what I just said with Bitcoin. I think it has just taken out. So this was the low of the monthly candle from November, so it's just sort of taken out that low. For what it's worth, it's not a particularly significant low for a swing fail, but dropping down into this 3-day demand. I was mulling this over. Like, I would still ideally like this to go lower. I don't think I certainly don't want to be shorting it where we are now. The main reason is because this has been respecting the 61 fib so well, is that the 61 fib from this whole last up move comes in at 1600. So in this daily zone at the bottom of the 3 month. So I would prefer, I guess, to see this come deeper inside the zone. And at the moment, it's not exactly showing much sign of strength so far. Like, it's had a tiny bounce, but obviously it can take some time to build up. I've kind of thought that to myself, but then sort of thought when you look back at periods like these, it wouldn't have looked particularly strong here either until eventually it ran. But in this case, yeah, so I was sort of thinking, okay, maybe I'd like a little bit lower on this. So yeah, that's something to keep an eye on. There's that 3 week if it drops into, and there's another CME gap there at 1700. So if it drops into that 3 week, that's where my next alert is anyway. And then potentially this daily down at 1600 if it comes down deeper to the 61 fib. So those are kind of the next levels I'm looking at on Ether for the long side. To the short side, it also has the same 5-day supply as Bitcoin. And actually, sorry, in this case it's a 4-day, which it hasn't tested yet. It had made a 2-day at the weekend, and I did manage to get a short in here on the lower time frame chart. For the weekend, because it did test the 8-hour inside, the same that I wanted for Bitcoin that didn't achieve. So that was a nice short entry on that, which I think a few of the group took. And again, I've been mulling over this structurally. So this at the moment is a stronger 4-day than Bitcoin, 4-day supply, because currently we're below the level that created the 4-day. But obviously we've now still got a 1 day and 6 hours until this closes, so it could still close back inside and therefore end up as a weak 4-day supply as well. But at the moment it's a stronger 4-day supply. But either way, like, even just being conscious that it's weak, I'm still okay with shorting if it goes there. The other thing, like I said, you know, the 61 fib being the kind of common thing for Ether at the moment, with virtually every retracement being a 61 fib retracement. Obviously this time will probably be the one time it isn't. And being conscious we are coming off the 3 month demand as well, but I have put an alert here just for the open of this 4-day supply. It's a big zone and it's got that big drop in it, so it could run higher inside it, but the 61 fib is at the level, so it's kind of worth watching if we get a reaction at, what's that, 22.20. Then if we draw a fib from the top of this drop, so the full wave down after that initial bounce, and perhaps even it should probably be from there. But either way, then we've got the 61 fib of that wave, then coincides with this 2-hour zone again that hasn't been tested inside that 4 days. So I don't love it because of the fact, you know, if you short this on the 4-day, then your stop has to be way too far away to make it really worthwhile to trade, particularly coming off 3 month demand, because you should be taking profit quite quickly. But if you can watch this while it's coming into the zone, I think there's also like a 4-hour zone in here, which hasn't been tested. So, but again, this just becomes, there's just too many comes as too many zones to watch, so I'm trying to just stick with the ones that coincide with the fibs. So this 2 hour here coincides with the larger 61 fib from over there, and then this 4 day coincides with the 61 fib here. So keep an eye on those zones if we come up for shorts, and then if we drop down, we're looking at the 3 week zone, and then preferably this daily inside the 3 week at the 61 fib below for longs. Low time frame is basically the same. I don't think there's anything really to add on that. So yeah, I can just show here that we got this 8 hour supply rejection there from a short that I called at the weekend, and came down into here, and then you can see I've got orange arrows for the 3 months. So previously I had the plan was to give red, orange and green arrows to be like increase my level of confidence, but what I then realized is that every time I put an orange or green arrow, people were then blindly trading them, and so now they are kind of like less leveled. They're not as confident, but they're high time frame confident. So you know, it's orange because this is a 3 month zone. It's not green because like I say, structurally I'm not convinced by it. But if it's a 3 month zone, I do expect some sort of bounce. But the problem is, like I say, 3 month is all the way down to here. So it can still, you know, this arrow is still valid for this entire zone. So see sort of weird lines on my chart on the video, so I just hope this is videoing okay. Yeah, anyway, so yeah, and again, so there's an orange arrow for the 3 week inside the 3 months. So they mean high time frame zones rather than trade them blindly, because in fact the black arrows, you know, even though they tend to be called scalps, they tend to be the ones that are most accurate because they're the ones I'm watching the chart most closely. Like, I'm not always right, but they, you know, when they are right, they tend to work very well for a decent risk to reward. Yeah, so anyway, as I said before, I've got that alert there for the 4 day supply, and then that 2 hour insider. And I think this is also, I don't know which time frame I looked at. I'm pretty sure there's a point of control here, but they kind of only appear for certain time frames, so it makes it slightly awkward. I thought there was, well, yeah, so on the 4 hour time frame, there's a naked point of control there. And then there's also one, so both the levels on the 4 hour, here and here, they both coincide with naked point of controls. So zones worth watching for shorts if we get up there. I mean, in the case of Ether, we do have this 12 hour supply that hasn't gotten through. It hasn't got through yet. But again, I just feel not that comfortable with it being so close to price and lower time frame when we're coming from a 3 month demand. So I'm not looking for shorts as aggressively as there. You know, there is another 61 fib there. You know, actually, I did consider this level. There is this green level, which is the 2 previous lows that we've bounced at, and including the one that broke down. So it is possible we get a rejection here. You know, it's the 61 fib, it's these lows, the breakdown. But I was still just, yeah, again, toying with the idea because of the fact that it's, I mean, it doesn't really coincide with the low time frame supply, or it's got the 12 hour, but I'm just toying with the fact it's a little bit too aggressive, particularly if I think Bitcoin can go higher. But I don't know, I might think about that some more, but you know, that's a level to consider. So that's what, that 2080 if you want to scalp. You know, potentially if that manages to coincide with Bitcoin, which is obviously, so Bitcoin's come through that 12 hour now. But if Bitcoin can come up to this 89k level at the same time as Ether gets to 2080, then it's possible that that's going to work. So again, look at just the confluence. I always look at the confluence of the two charts against each other. Yeah, so that's pretty much it on those at the moment, I think. I don't think there's anything else on the... So the CME pair... Yeah, so like I said, we filled a gap. We've come down into a daily demand. It does have a yearly level, slightly lower, but I think that's an inverse yearly level. It's not a demand, yeah, it's just an opposing yearly level. And then this has also got the 3 week and the daily inside it with another CME gap kind of further down there. And the gaps it left down here were significantly smaller. They were much more, I think the significant gaps were higher and have already been filled. I think actually there's a decent one. This gap here at 1400 is actually a decent gap as well, I think. Is it 1400? Let me go on the lower time frame chart just so you can see. Yeah, because the daily it fills the candle. So you can see here that when we got this bounce, and this was a bounce off the 2-month demand, I think, on the US dollar chart, when we got this bounce, we left this very big gap here. So the level that I just dragged the levels across, but the level there is put at the orange line, so you can see. So when it retested here, it didn't come anywhere close to that. So there is a fairly significant CME gap at 1400 if it chooses to come all the way down there, and that will mean taking out the entire 3-monthly zone. And like I say, I don't think that's out of the realms of possibility. Hi Sierra. I don't think it's out of the realms of possibility to come all the way down here, but we have had a significant drop now, so to have a bounce in between would be welcomed, I think, by many people. And we've left a lot of CME gaps above as well that need to be filled. Well, don't need to be filled. In fact, ETH is much less reliable. I think Bitcoin's more inclined to fill CME gaps. Yes, I'm reading the chat. Can you? You're I think 30 seconds behind when I'm talking, but let me check you can actually hear me. I assume you can hear me actually, otherwise you would have said something if I was just being silent. But yes, I can see you, Sierra. Yeah. So, and the Korea pair again, so we've hit this weekly demand and it's got the 3-month a little bit lower. So again, the confluence of the US dollar pair hitting the 3-month demand is not quite there with the Korea pair. So that's another kind of justification to get a little bit lower on that. I'm fine, thanks, Sierra. I'm recovering from being sick actually, so but I'm better. There should be an in between for better, because when you say better, people think you're fine, whereas I'm not better. I'm just more better than I was yesterday. But at least I can speak again today, so that's a benefit. And thank you for asking. How are you? Anyway, I don't want to be too long on this stream, so I'm just going to I just thought I'd quickly run onto the majors, because we had quite a few things hit zones, and yeah, I was sort of in two minds. I've added a couple of shorts, but I'm in two minds about a lot of things. So let's quickly start on BCH. So BCH had the aggressive long entry on the daily demand there, so that's held, dipped a little bit inside it, but has held and is now coming up to test the first supply. So similar to everything else. This is coming off 6-month demand, so can make a bigger move, but I did ideally want it lower inside and or either that monthly and or taking out a lot of these stops. But it obviously doesn't have to do what I want it to do, so we may have started a little mini uptrend here. Glad you're well. Yeah, we may have started a little mini uptrend here, but so I'm not putting any aggressive shorts on this. I just want to see how this daily demand plays out from here. Ripple, again, I haven't had any long entries since the last on this, just because this is too unclear for me. I'm still sticking with this 3-day down here and then the annual lower should we get there. This did make a 5-day supply right at price, 5-day and 4-day, so it's it's tight. It's not ideal. And it's also made a weekly inside, so I have set an alert for a new short on this weekly, but just again be conscious with this that it's still within a range. This is weekly supply. It's not the best one, but I just set an alert for the level to see. And also I've got too many crosses up here. I've also reset. I will, if this fails, then I will also look again too. So this came off thousands of crosses. This came off the 2-day supply, or just under the 2-day supply, and then there was a 3-day and 5-day. So it's possible, if this is a swing fail of the lower range of the range, that we then take out the high of the range. If we do, then yeah, then I would look again for this 5-day, 3-day supply. Yes, yeah, right. Well, I kind of do some teaching, but more like I don't have a full course. I've got a couple of videos on YouTube, supply and demand videos that you can watch if you want, but they are like, you need to be have some experience to understand them. They're not from basics. And then I have a group where I just kind of do ongoing little bits of education. So yeah, I teach it to some extent. But no, I don't have a formal course because there's too many other people who've made those courses. I don't want to repeat what hundreds of other people have done. I've got my own methods that I do on top of everything else I've learned, and that's why I have the more experienced courses. But yeah, so anyway, Ripple, so still in this range. I'll look at this weekly level if it retests there, being conscious that it's a weak supply, and then potentially up here again if it comes back to take out that high, having taken out this low. If it does fail the range, and if we do get a rejection here, then I'll look at 3-day demand, and the annual demand's a lot lower. I did also look at all these on the BTC pairs as well. Don't know if I want to go into that too much now. I might have a quick skim of them at the end. Okay, so Litecoin again has sort of broken down from this range that it was holding, which isn't great. It's only on the daily, you know, it might still close back inside there on the weekly. So I'm going to be looking for this if it's going to make, you know, I think it's got possibly 3-week, 2-week, 1-week supply in there if it confirms, if it closes underneath there. And it's still in a local uptrend. It's a weak, very weak uptrend, I think. And I still think it's very corrective. That was a strong uptrend, and this is still a very corrective move up. So while again we've got this big 2-month demand, you know, it's not dissimilar to Ether from the perspective that we have major demand below, but it hasn't moved very far from here. So on this I have, you know, it's got a 5-day supply and a 3-day supply. So I've set a slightly more aggressive short entry on this 3-day here at the first cross, and then also there's a 5-day untested above. And the main thing with the majors now is I'm just not sure if we're going to get some sort of a run through and stop hunt before we get a secondary drop. Litecoin I still would like to see lower. I don't like these trendline stops here, but I have set an alert for potentially this 3-day demand at the top of this consolidation, but I guess we'll see if we get there. You know, it's again not dissimilar to what we had over here, where we had some stops here, and it did come down and it held for a couple of bounces before then coming through the zone. So it's possible we get, you know, maybe we've already done it there, but you know, it's possible we get a bounce in here and then again a couple of bounces before later coming down. So it's looking for those interim bounces. So that's Litecoin. And then EOS is finally on this. How long have I been doing streaming? I've been doing it, I don't know, I can't, to be honest, I did some streaming back in, oh god, I don't know, 5 years ago, but it's hard to get followers, and it's demotivating, but then I thought I'd try some more because I enjoy doing it, and it's nice when people come on and talk to me like you, so it'd be nice to get a decent following, and I also like to help people out, so I'm giving a lot of entries on these streams, so hopefully people will come to discover me and then start to follow me a bit more. So EOS is also in a monthly demand, but I know the BTC pair on this looks horrendous, so I just wanted to have a couple more aggressive shorts, so like for Litecoin and for EOS, I put an alert here on this 3-day. I am just, I guess, increasingly conscious that now we are in demand. You know, obviously it's hit the 5-day demand alert that I had at the low, but that we could take out the trend line stops here and go up to higher zones. But yeah, when I look back at history, it's difficult because there are some situations, you know, where that's happened and somewhere it hasn't. So I think, so let's say, for example, here, you know, it had a drop, had that final drop, and then takes out the stops above that zone. Did give some small reactions off the zone, but then take out the stops above before the secondary drop. So I don't know if that's what we're going to get here, and particularly because now it is coming off the start of this last impulse. So again, just see what the reaction is. So yeah, I guess the short version is EOS and Litecoin. I've got slightly more aggressive short entries just to have some entries if the shorts are still in play. And again, just be conscious they are in decent demands. BCH, I am not looking for more aggressive shorts. It's held my long entry on the daily demand, so I would like this to make a higher high. I don't know if it's capable of that, but we'll see. It did. The other thing on BCH actually I haven't covered is it did manage to get a short entry on this 12-hour supply, so this is what I look at sometimes. Yes, yeah, I do use other socials. I have Twitter and Telegram, but yeah, feel free to message me on Telegram. Yeah, so I've got, so this, obviously I had the alert here that I'd already talked about previously for 3-day, 5-day supply up here, and then some weeklies, and there were some stops above here that I thought could get taken, and this rejected slightly early. So what I then look for, if this rejects off a zone that's still interesting, but it's slightly before my major alert, then I'll look at the lower time frames and see whether it can give another entry. So in this case, it did give another entry on this 12-hour supply before the bigger drop. We might get the same here now, actually. This has now made an 8-hour demand. So I might look for longs on a retest of this 8-hour demand later. Again, it's coming straight into 12-hour supply. So this is the sort of indecisive point that it's going to come down now. Like if it rejects off here now and comes down, will it make a high low and push from there? Or is it going to still continue this downtrend and go deeper into this impulse? If you don't have Telegram, then Twitter. You can contact me on Twitter, Elisa_crypto. And how can you not have Telegram if you're in the trading space? That's just impossible. I do have Instagram, but I don't use it for trading. It's private. And Discord, yes, I have, but I don't particularly use. I don't even know what my name is, so I don't use that much. What else? Yeah, okay, so overarchingly, I think with these, it's difficult. So while we have EOS and BCH on decent bounce zones, we've got Litecoin floating in the middle of nowhere and Ripple holding range, but not with really a decent demand and with a fair amount of supply above. So yeah, I just need to see a little bit more what plays out, and I'll look for those potentially aggressive shorts on EOS and Litecoin on the 3-day supplies if they revisit, and then the weekly on Ripple. Okay, so I was going to look quickly at the BTC pairs on these. So where are we? So EOS BTC. Let's go up to the high time frame. So yes, it's a mild possibility it holds this as support, but so far, you know, EOS has been in an epic downtrend for a very, very long time. Similar structure happening now, you know, it's trying to hold support. I don't see any particular reason for this to hold support. If it does flip supply to demand, then great, but at the moment it's, you know, it's going to make a 2-week supply more than likely. It's got a 5-day supply it's rejecting off in there. So again, need to see a little bit more than from this. If this is going to make a bottom here, there's nothing that tells me this has bottomed out. There's no history, so we can't say that this has hit support. And you know, it's a mild possibility it's swing failed the lows and it's holding a retest, but it still has a lot of supply above, so I'm not confident of this. On EOS, BCH is better. But the problem with BCH, so while that looks better just in the lower time frames, it has to also come off 3-week supply. It's got a 6-month supply and a monthly supply immediately above, and then is also coming off a yearly. So I've set an alert for the monthly supply just so I could see where the US dollar pair is, and then also potentially that yearly hasn't been tested higher. So while this looks okay on the lower time frames, it could be a deviation below the low with so much supply above. It doesn't make me overly confident. But yeah, we can see what the reaction is here. So I mean, you know, and even if it is, it's potentially going to take some time. So I mean, yes, okay, possibly it might just run straight through it. If it does, then I'll have to wear that. What I would prefer is to see a reaction here, to see some demand form, see another bounce, see a reaction. Ideally have some decent high time frame monthly or above demand in there before a move up, if it's going to try and take out this annual supply. That's BCH. Litecoin does have a monthly demand. It's already wicked fairly heavily inside it, so this is, I mean, this is less bad, but again, it's just between monthly demand and monthly supply, so I just don't know what this is going to give from here. Like this, it's not, I don't think it's high probability either direction, Could pick up support here and have another move, but again, I mean, even though the US dollar pair doesn't look great on this, but we do have at least a mini uptrend forming on this. This is sort of one of the less horrendous, but when it's coming off monthly supply, yeah, I mean, it's got a mini uptrend on the low time frames, but it's projected straight off monthly supply, so I need to see a bit more on this too. So that's Litecoin, and then Ripple finally. I actually didn't look at this. So Ripple, we did get a bounce here off the annual demand, so I did have an alert set for that, which went a few weeks ago, I think. But again, now it's made a weekly supply in there. So again, like, I just feel like I want to see this come down a bit more. Let's look at the lower time frames. Yeah, so it's got a weekly supply and it's about to hit the daily inside it, but yeah, I'm not loving the structure there. I would like to see this come down for a decent retest before another move up. And given that it's right at resistance, I don't think this is a wise place to be buying. So I'll see a little bit more on this first. That's Ripple, and I need to put it back to the EOS. Yeah, so those are the old majors. Then new majors. Okay, so I'll run through these. I might just do the BTC pair with it, because it makes it a little bit easier. So BNB, we've got an annual demand. So this is the annual level here. So I went for the second test on the annual level for looking for a long entry there. So we've had a decent bounce on that. But again, now it's got, I think, weekly, 3 weekly, 2 weekly supply above. Weekly, it's got a 3 week. I'm not sure what that alert is. Let me just check what my alert is in there. Yeah, 2 day and 3 day, and then 3 week at the top. Okay, yes, it's just sort of hiding behind. I did take a lot of the crosses off so I could see what I was doing a bit better, but yeah. So it's made a 3 weekly supply in there. It's not a strong one because, again, it hasn't broken the low. And then it's got a weekly, again, not strong because it hasn't broken the low. So again, this is on an annual demand. It could run from here, but I put a short entry or short alert in just to see what the reaction is. Another excess cross there, just to see what the reaction is, and when if we get back up to this 3 week and 3 day supply in there. It does also have a 3 day supply. So again, all these majors, what you're going to see is we've got 3 day and 5 day supply very close to the price here, and this is like it's going to be annoying if it starts doing this again. I think this is one of my other devices updating and it reloads the page, but normally it stops after having done it a few times, so hopefully it'll stop. But yeah, so this has local 3 day supply, so we could see these just instantly rejecting and going straight down again. So I'm just waiting and seeing what the reaction is. I don't want to look for shorts here because of coming off annual demand. But yeah, I also will, yeah, so I don't want to look for too aggressive shorts, but I also just need to see if we're going to get more of a reaction from here, this demand that's going to push us through some of the supply. Failing that, then I'm going to be looking a lot lower on this, back down in 3 months demand. This is so annoying. The BTC pair, it's going to let me look at it. Again, I was a little bit indecisive on this. Like, in a perfect world, I would like to see it come back down here to the 3 month demand as well, and then obviously the US dollar pair will certainly go all the way down. However, again, you know, we're in, I think, a 2 monthly demand in the bigger picture, but then just tight under a monthly supply. So there's just not much I can say on this. You know, if it's had a drop, wow. Turn my phone off just in case it's my phone doing this. Yeah, so it's got a monthly supply up here, but it's got a monthly there, and it's got a local monthly supply. But again, this is not something, okay, it might just do equivalent to what Bitcoin does, but the BTC pair, it doesn't make me want to trade BNB over Bitcoin particularly. And if I was to short, then I'd probably be more inclined to short BNB, because I think this potentially, if it does break down, could come all the way down here. So yeah, that's BNB. And overarchingly with BNB, well, we have this annual demand, we've got a swing fail of the high, a second swing fail of the high, and then a possible double top. And as I've commented a few times before, like I was saying, inverse head and shoulders here on a lot of the alts, I think is a very, very possible, a distinct possibility. Sorry, it throws me off with all this reloading. Then ADA. So ADA, we had a bounce on a 6-month demand, and let's go down to the lower time frames. So we had a bounce on 6-month demand. We then had a very strong bounce with the Trump news, which then took out the entire monthly supply but only on a swing failure, only to fall all the way back through. It's now flipped a weekly supply in here. So again, like, while I had an alert for a long on this 4-hour, 8-hour demand down the bottom here, you can see it's already found resistance on this weekly supply in here. So again, because of the 6-month demand, I don't want to look for shorts on this, but then I'm just not sure now if the long is going to have follow-up from here. Hi, Ozymandias. Yes, I think it's very likely the major trend on US indices is reversing. Very likely. But there's still some disclaimers. Did you watch the start of the stream? So yeah, so again, just see what the reaction is on this weekly and on a retest of the monthly. But yeah, I'm not overly confident of this anymore, but it is coming from 6-month demand. So again, just need to see a little bit more follow-up. But if you're not in that long, then I wouldn't suggest entering right under weekly supply on this. Again, if we fall deeper, I've got an alert down on this 3-month demand in here. And then we'll just see. But as always, like as I say, mostly I scalp. Like, I'm not looking for is ADA going to go from 60 cents to $300? Like, I don't make those kind of judgments. I look at supply and demand as and when they're hit and structure. So we're on a 6-month demand, so I think that it is possible this has a decent move up. I'm going to show the higher time frame. 6-month demand, it is possible it has a decent move up, but it's also a corrective structure within this down move. Got the bigger up move, then a down move, and then a corrective structure, and that makes me nervous for the demand. It's weak demand, so I'm just not convinced. Then the BTC pair on ADA. So again, this is looking obviously slightly a lot stronger than a lot of the. I'll talk about it again at the end. I'll put in a little while, put a bit more detail on it. Just let me finish the majors and then I'll talk about it again in the context of the larger trend. But I did kind of make comments on that at the start. Yeah, so this obviously BTC pair is one of the better ones. It has had a decent move here, but then it's again so much supply. It's hung up now on 6-month supply in here. And this just makes these very, very challenging. So until I see this potentially, it's made a new monthly demand, it's got a bounce, it's gone higher in the 6-month supply, but I just need to see more from this. Like, yes, it's had a decent move off support here. However many months it might take to build enough support to get through any more of this supply, I don't know. Or maybe it'll just take one Trump comment and it will go straight to, the top one candle. All right, Sierra, I will send you a message on Discord. Yeah, so this is one of the better BTC pairs. So I mean, certainly watch where the US dollar pair is at when this hits this weekly. So if this drops down a little bit lower, then see whether the US dollar pair has dropped down a little bit lower, or if it's just consolidating through here, having tested this weekly. Like, if it tests this weekly and then doesn't really drop lower, if it still continues to hold through here, or at least hold another test of the 6-month, then you can take another potential long to get through. The supply, it's all weak supply through here for the moment, and this is a stronger 6-month demand. Just don't know if it's going to come deeper inside it. Dogecoin, so this was one of the ones that I said to keep an eye on. It's hit annual demand. It's got a 61 fib, it's quite a lot lower, but yeah, I've just watched from the start of the zone. It did take a little, it sort of had a little bounce when it first hit, but then the market dropped again, so it took a wick down into this 5-day. I put another alert on the 2-monthly level inside if it chooses to get down there. And again, there's another one of the same challenges, that we've got 3-day supply here, we've got weekly supply here, we've got monthly supply here. So this is a yearly zone. Is this going to give a bounce that's going to take all of those out in one go? Or are we going to get a rejection here, a higher low, a rejection here, a higher low, a rejection here, a higher low, and then move up? And like we had a similar, I think, at the lows here, possibly. I mean, in the bigger picture, this is essentially the same thing, that when you've got this downtrend here, which would have made, I'm not going to draw all the supplies in now, but it made each of the supplies, but, you know, we've got a rejection there, a higher low, a rejection there, a higher low, a rejection there, a higher low, and that's essentially the same thing I'm talking about, but this on the lower time frame. But then, similarly, you can see here that, you know, this tested at least halfway up each move on the way down. So thus when it came back, this then found it much easier to get through all the supply. This hasn't really had, it's had little bits of tests, but not really decent tests. But yeah, I've left that weekly alert in there, so you may remember that that got just missed on a previous test. So I've left that weekly alert in there just in case that gets a rejection, just taking out some of these highs, but my preference would probably be looking for shorts on this monthly supply, given coming off annual demand on this. But certainly look at this, you know, watch for it breaking supply or making local demand and hold, you know, it still sends everything else holding under this 12-hour, but watch for local demand on this, or if it has any build through here to get the long, because this is an annual demand. The BTC pair, not that one, this one, is also, I think, in a decent spot. So there's a part of me that would kind of like it to go down here, and I always wanted it to go down here because, you know, here it bounced too high, here it bounced too high, and there's a big part of me that would still like it to go down here, but I guess the only way for that to happen would be for BTC to dump and Dogecoin to dump more, or BTC to pump, no, or BTC to pump and Dogecoin to pump less. I guess that's obviously a possibility that can take that down. Anyway, it's hit a weekly demand here, so there's no reason it isn't going to have a bounce. That's similar to the US dollar pair. It's got weekly supply here, and it's got 3 weekly supply just above. So again, just need to see the reactions as and when they get hit. It's still sort of essentially in a downward consolidation. So, you know, we can still follow this downtrend down into that zone, and then I'd be much more comfortable looking for longs on Doggy overall, and, you know, even if it comes down into this annual zone down here. This is always a bit of a messy chart because it has such long periods of going downwards very slowly and then very short periods of going up very quickly. So I guess the other risk on this, again, while it's an annual demand, again, it's a weak annual demand. But yeah, still watch for your possible longs at this point on Dogecoin, and then, yeah, again, just be aware it can come deeper in the zone if it wants to. Finally, on these, I think Link I haven't looked at yet. Oh, so Link had an annual demand, it's got a 6-month demand, and now it's hit the weekly and the monthly inside. So we had a 3-week, 2-week, and a monthly alert that I had, and it's hit those inside it. So again, it's given the long entry on this, but we still need to see the bounce, and we need to see the bounce get past supply. So, you know, when I say this, you know, I guess one the other thing that's worth considering, you know, is we get drops, same as we've got here, and then they hit somewhere we're interested in. So in this case, we've got a decent wick off it, but then it takes some time to consolidate. And that's what you want, and that's when you're starting to look for what new demand is this making for me to get in my long entry. You haven't got to FOMO in immediately here. You're looking at where is the nearest supply, where is my long entry. So here was your nearest supply from this bounce. It went straight back up into that. So yes, you can FOMO long, you know, just back off the weekly demand here if you want with a wider stop. But then you've still got to wait, you know, it's got to test, so it tested the supply, it dropped down, it tested the supply again, it dropped down, and in this case, you know, it still hadn't broken supply, but it had started to make higher lows in here, and once it's made a decent demand, then you can start looking for the bigger move up. So this is kind of what I want here. You know, I want it to go up and test the supply, I want it to come back down, I want to see if it's going to hold this level, or is it going to still continue the downtrend and drop a bit deeper inside. You know, then we're looking for this consolidation before we want the next up move. You know, in the same vein that we've got this 5-day supply, but because we're in 6-month demand, I don't want to look for shorts too aggressively on this. And in fact, you know, on Link, I'm actually even really in two minds. I've had this 2-day supply or 1-day supply alert for a while up here. The thing with Link is, so part of the reason I chose up here rather than lower was because it's left 4 highs there, and it's left multiple highs here as well. So that was kind of the first, looking for a stop hunt of those highs into daily supply. Then we have a 5-day above, and again, when I previously had the alert, I said, but watch out for the fact that it may go for the stops above that high. So again, just need to see now, is this going to make demand? What's the reaction going to be off supply? So I'm not aggressively shorting this. I'll wait for shorts higher and longs lower, and I'll wait for consolidation to see if there's some entry through there. Let me just look at the BTC pair again on this. Yeah, so again on this, you can see now that drift down, it's got this monthly demand. It's rejected off 6-month supply, rejected off a 2-month supply, and now it's sort of swing failed a 2-month supply and come back down. It's made a monthly demand, but it's just drifting ever deeper inside it. So I'd much prefer Link again if it comes back down into this more solid monthly zone. I started to lose my voice from being sick. Yeah, excuse the huskiness. What else on this? You know, when you're sick, you feel really spaced out as well, so everything feels really echoey, and it feels like I'm talking really loudly. Particularly as outside my house seems really, really quiet, so I feel like I'm in an echoey vortex at the moment. Yeah, so anyway, that's Link. So I guess the summary of all these, so these majors, so we have the 2 sets of new majors. All these new majors hit my demand entries. So BNB retested the annual level, Link retested through to 1 month demand, not retested, tested, and inside the 6 month. Dogecoin has hit this yearly zone, it's dipped a little bit inside it to a 5-day, and there's a monthly a little bit below. And then ADA hit 4-hour demand that I had more aggressively on that. The problem with all of them is that they all have like quite a lot of local supply. And unless we get some, you know, massive sudden influx of alt season into the market, I'm not really sure whether these are going to make it through supply. So all of them now, you know, you just need to be watch the, you know, the 4-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour timeframes to see if you can get follow-up long entries, but be conscious all of them are coming almost immediately into 3-day, 5-day supply. Dogecoin's got a bit more space before it hits supply, but it's in a 12-hour at the moment. So we need to see that these are not going to strongly reject these supplies and just go straight down for another lower low. Then moving on to DOT, NEAR, Atom and Sol. So in contrast, whereas all of those had hit demand, DOT, NEAR and Atom, or DOT, NEAR, Atom and Sol in fact, all are still some way off where I would like to look for long entries. However, again, all are on possible support zones, which again makes it slightly more challenging. So let's just start with DOT. So DOT's still in this large monthly demand. So it's got this monthly demand from over here, and it's just formed this range sitting or running to the bottom of monthly demand. So what we've got on this, and this doesn't actually have any monthly supply, or 2 months, like a lot of the others have 2 months supply, and some of these might make 3 months. So I think some of these I might have to make a judgment after the end of March, because a lot of them are potentially, or at the moment look like they're going to make a 3-month supply here. And if they do, then I just think the alt market's going to hell, and it's going to be very bearish. So we really need to rescue, prices need to rescue themselves in the next 2 weeks. So a lot of these I think I might reserve judgment, but you can see here that we've had like now 4 tests on the bottom of this monthly zone, and each test has been a slightly higher low, except for the current one, which has now taken out the previous one. It's only the low from this year, but so each is a slightly higher low, so it is possible we hold support here. However, after 4 or 5 hits on a particular level, I'm generally not confident that it's going to hold, so I had the alert for lower on this 3-day demand. So I would like to see this down here for longs. On the short side, I'll just hide everything. So I did hide a lot of my old entries, but some still in there. So we've got this new weekly supply here. Potentially is going to be a 2-week, and again, if we close 2-week at the end of this week without having had a decent bounce, and this closes a strong supply, I'll probably be more inclined to put shorts here. But for the moment, like with the mess of this weekly, these 3 candle weekly not breaking the low significantly here, plus having had this previously as a 5-day that's already been tested, I don't want to put aggressive shorts on this. It has made a new 5-day and a 3-day. So earlier today, I did actually have a short entry here, but I then deleted it because I decided, no, I'm shorting far too close to support. So I just don't think that's a decent enough probability. However, you know, if you want to look for shorts there, I think you can watch the lower time frame. I don't necessarily think this is a strong demand level. But my concern, I guess, is that because we haven't had that much of a bounce here, it didn't make it up into any supply up here, we've left trend line stops over there. So if this does get a bounce, you know, I do think it's possible that we get some of these and then that happens, rather than just going straight down into there now. And then also when I look back at history, and again just comparing previous structures, you can see, you know, that we, like here, we made this last final consolidation and then just pumped straight up through it. And similarly, kind of here, this was a bit messier, but again made this last consolidation in here, but then finally pumped up through it. And I feel like this could be coming here. So again, I don't want to be too aggressive. I think there are, again, better things to short. But if you want to look for a short here, then you can. My next alert is on, I think, a 5-day supply up there, or 4-day. So that's the next clean one. There's a 4-day and then a 3-day. And then we've got weeklies in the 5-day. And again, it's just a question of how much retracement we're going to get before getting a correction. And or, you know, are we just going to, you know, is this just the bottom of a range and we're just going to do exactly the same thing again? But yeah, hard to say at this point. This supply up here, I think, is a little bit cleaner than it has been previously. We have come down more strongly, and we've got like this singular candle there on the 4 days. So I will still look for shorts, because I feel like this needs to go down to better demand before it's going to go up further. But I could be wrong, who knows. The BTC pair, yeah, the other thing on this, and the other reason I had the more aggressive short is, again, the BTC pair is horrible. So it's made a 2 monthly supply, it's rejected off that. So I expect this to go down. This is not something that I particularly want to long over anything else. So back to the US dollar pair, that holds credence to my theory that we're potentially going to go down into this 3-day demand down here. Atom is another one that's pretty not dissimilar to DOT, actually. So this kind of does have this giant 6-monthly zone here, but it was from when the price opened on Binance, so I don't love it, you know, but it did hold a support there and then later here. But this has come up into a 6-month supply up here. It's now got an annual zone up there, but I think it hasn't tested that, no. So it hasn't tested that. But again, so what we've got here is, again, not got to the zone that I wanted. So I've set an alert here for the 2-week and then 1 month demand is underneath it. But it's possible now, you know, so again, it's similar. We've had this weekly zone. I had a test there. It's had a few tests here. had a decent move off it, and now it's now come down deeper into the zone. So it is possible it finds support and this is a swing fail. It is possible this runs through this supply. I'm going to start the coughing now. It is possible this runs at least through this local supply, and then we just need to see what the reaction is on the higher supply. It's also got some trend line stops there, so it could run through the whole lot. So we have seen this on the odd alt, but mostly the ones that are smaller and therefore lower liquidity. So some of them, and I've said this many times in all my streams, that we've got these, in this case this is a monthly supply in here now, but we've got this 3-week supply, and then a lot of alts have this 5-day untested above. So some of the ones that have low liquidity have gone like that and just wicked straight up through this central zone. So this is possible. In this case it's a monthly supply. I'm still alerting them because generally if it happens so fast that you could just get the top entry, having gone straight through that zone. So Atom, I had an aggressive short on this, I think it was a 4-day I had alerted there, so that again gave a nice little scalp down to take out the low, although obviously not as low as I would have liked. And I'll look for shorts if it gets back up to here. So again, if you're looking for longs on this, it's possible it's swing fail, but I'm not overly confident. This is another one like a long with dot that you could look for shorts here on this 3-day if you see it reject, but then I'm not alerting because I just feel like it's too aggressive. BTC pair on this I think is horrible as well. Yeah, so it's got a 2-month supply there, hasn't tested it, wasn't even strong enough to test that. Yes, it's possible it makes a higher low, but again we've got the same 3-day supply right above this. Here, and then a possible, it might confirm a 2-week by the end of the week. But again, this is not something that I particularly want to look for longs on. Again, a bit like EOS, downtrend for epic periods of time, had that bounce in November, but again has made a lower low, so there's no reason this downtrend isn't now just going to keep continuing. So again, nothing I want to long on this particularly, or doesn't support particularly longing the US dollar pair. Not over BTC anyway. So that's Atom. Near is slightly stronger, so near maybe gives me slightly more hope. But so if you're desperate to long something, I would long near over dot and Atom. So this at least is on a weekly demand. It does. So again, my alert was a touch lower. So again, it gives the notion that all of these, my alerts were just a little bit lower, so I wonder if we are going to get a rejection off these 3-day 5 weeks for a final drop, but we'll see. But at least this, so near is it's in a weekly demand. It hit a 5-day inside the weekly. The problem with near is again it's got 2-month supply right above there, so I think Atom didn't have, let me just check. Atom's got a monthly supply and dot doesn't have their monthly, but so while near has better demand, it's got 2 monthly supply, so even that makes it not overly high probability. So again, near I got the aggressive short entry on 3-day supply in there that I called in one of the streams last week ago. So that has had a nice reaction. It's also got 3-day supply now, it's got a weekly supply, and it's got stops above. So again, coming off this level, I'm not confident with aggressive shorts on this. Even this 2-month, there's a 2-day inside it, and then there's a 2-week inside it. So again, I've set the alert for the open for that zone, but bear in mind it's a big zone, so it can go either to this 2-day at least, or higher inside it. And then again, if this comes a little bit lower, then we've got the 3-month zone, and hope if I get a bounce off the top of that, and then maybe this can be slightly more bullish. But I guess overarching with the bigger structures of these, are just sideways. Like everyone talks of alt season and things going like, but this is we've had alt season now in 2021. It's retraced. We've had now a second move that's been unable to break the high. So what next? Yeah, anyway, near, sorry, BTC pair. So again, this is now currently looking like it's wanting to break down. Okay, it might still pull another swing fail like it did here. Could still be a fake down, but again, I'm not gonna I'm not going to preempt that being a fake down. If you suddenly see a big green candle come off this, then maybe we can start looking for longs. And this is another one as well that's potentially going to make a 3-month supply. It's not the best one there. It had a 2-month lower, so you can see that wick of this month's candle has rejected the 2-month level. And then yeah, it's potentially going to make a 2-weekly supply in there. So again, this I'm assuming is a breakdown until proven otherwise, but this is not making me want to long near particularly either. So none of these really, the BTC pairs don't really support looking for longs very much on these, or if any more than that I'm talking high time frame longs. That doesn't mean we're not going to get bounces in the mid time frames, because if Bitcoin gets a bounce, then surely these will get a bounce as well. Yeah, so no aggressive shorts on near, but we'll see if we get up to that 2-month supply up there. So I guess overarchingly on these, what have we got? So none of them have hit any sort of support that I really wanted to look for longs on. Near was the one that got closest. I haven't looked at Sol yet, so I'll get to that in a sec, sorry. 2-week demand a bit lower on Atom, 3-day demand a lot lower on DOT, and a slightly lower on near the 3-month demand levels. So levels you can watch if we do get a secondary drop on this, on these. Don't want to short any of the supplies that I've talked about so far, just because I feel like it's too aggressive, and it's still possible these are going to find support, even if just for a bigger corrective up move. Finally, Solana. So this had this 2-month demand here, and again, I don't know if I've still got my picture on this, drawn a few times. No, it doesn't look like it. So I always said, like, while we had a monthly demand here, I said there was the risk this was going to be like Ripple, and pull that triangle distribution pattern that the crypto market seems to like quite a lot. So I was hoping for a bit of a better bounce off the monthly demand, but it only came up. So we did get a bounce there, but it only came up into I think a local that was a 3-day supply at the time, although it's now a weekly. And then the retest barely got anywhere after that was the Trump pump, and the retest barely got anywhere. So again, I still would like this to take out these lows, ideally, and come down into this monthly demand a little bit lower down there. So similar to Atom near. Hi, airdrop is not trader. I don't know what you mean it is not trader. You're saying I'm not a trader. This is the Sol chart, Solana. Yes. Yeah, so yeah, I'd like to see a reaction on a little bit lower on this, on the monthly demand. And again, I'm not taking, while it's got 5-day and weekly supply now in there, I don't want to look for aggressive shorts for the same reason as I commented for everything else, that I feel like it's too aggressive. With the price being at support, and while we could just get if I start to see very, very slow price action through here, then maybe I'll start being more confident of shorts. But until I see a bit more of this bounce and know if we're going to get a bigger bounce, and then, as I said, that large inverse head and shoulders pattern that I think is potentially playing out on quite a lot of the majors charts at least, I want to wait and see. This also has a monthly supply up here, so I've set the alert for the open of that monthly supply, and then the various untested levels inside it should we get up there. The BTC pair on this actually is nasty as well, but again, possible support. So it's nasty but possible support. So the reason I say it's nasty is because this very much resembles Ether Bitcoin. So if you recall, the Ether Bitcoin chart is similar to this and is now somewhere like around here equivalently. So, you know, this is on a weekly demand, and again, like, I don't want to preempt. Yes, it can bounce from here. I don't expect it probably to bounce more than through to 2 monthly supply before a bigger drop. So we could get some sort of a bounce now, although it's still in a local down structure. Yeah, the similarities with the ETHBTC pair can't be ignored. And in fact, ETHBTC was probably significantly stronger because it had a lot more supply, a lot more demand higher up than the Sol BTC pair has, because the Sol BTC pair came up a lot quicker. So I've set an alert on this, I think, for monthly demand, 3 monthly demand down here if we get a bigger drop. But yeah, this could give hope for at least an interim bounce on the US dollar pair. But again, I think there's probably better things to look at. So, Jack, I said, don't be upset with me. You said Jack is not a trader. I don't know, I'm confused. I'm not Jack anyway, so I guess I'm not upset with you. I don't get upset that easily. I'm quite a thick-skinned, which you kind of have to be in the crypto space. Okay, so the summary of Dot, Atom, Near, and Sol. So all of them hadn't quite hit zones that I wanted on the long side. And all of them I'm slightly reluctant. I'm reluctant to short too aggressively because I think there is a possibility we get a run through any of the local supply. There's some trend line stops on quite a lot of them. There's higher zones that haven't been tested, and they are all also on, while I don't want to long these supports, they are also on possible supports. They're not supports I want to long because they've been hit too many times, and I feel like there's a likelihood of them breaking. Near is the only one that may be maybe better. But I really can't speak today, being it's on a weekly demand and the structure is a little bit stronger than the others. But even that, this got 2 months supply, not far above, so I don't love these particularly. I'm trying to think if there's anything. So yeah, so if you're looking for shorts, then the second set of majors, Dot, Atom, Near, and Sol. If you're looking for shorts, those would be the ones I'd be more confident shorting when they get to short zones. If you're looking for longs, then use the first set of majors. So BNB, Link, ADA, and Dogecoin are all on major demand. So while they might be dipping inside them and they might still go a lot deeper, they're the ones that I'm more confident of longs, of going long on when the time is right. So yeah, they've all had bounces off the levels that I wanted. Doge coming a little bit deeper in the annual because the alert was aggressive on the top of the annual. They've all still got into immediate supply, so we still need to wait it out, wait for supply to get tested, look for 4-8 hour demands, etc., and see if we can get some higher lows on these and consolidation before potentially another move up. And then the old majors were kind of 50-50, so lost EOS, let me just put EOS back. BCH has had a decent bounce off that daily demand that I had, and EOS off the 5-day demand at the bottom of the range, but obviously EOS is just generally weaker overall, but BCH would be the one to look for longs on, and then Ripple and Litecoin I feel still might be sideways for a while, more consolidation or just rejecting local supply. But I mean, like the old majors, you're more likely to get trades in both directions. Date, range, time, your chart. Again, not 100% sure what you mean. These are the daily charts on EOS, Litecoin, Ripple and BCH. The BNB charts, I was looking at 2 days, but I'm looking at all the different time frames and just showing where you can get entries. I can see you're on my vertical layout, so I guess it's harder for you to see. Yeah, it's harder for you to see. So yeah, if you're interested, then switch over to my YouTube, the landscape layout, and then you can see the charts a bit more easily. Just do the vertical ones if anybody just gets interested from seeing. Then I can make shorts and things later to share. I'm going to stop now because my voice is failing me. On the alts, so many alerts came in over the last few days that I can't even. So my March watch list, which I did go through in the last stream in huge detail, but is now up to ridiculous lengths, and probably virtually every alt got alerted. So obviously now I'm phenomenally behind on my, let me see how many alerts. Oh, not that. You see how many alerts I've had. So 155 now hit in the first 12 days of March, which is almost as much as January in its entirety. So yeah, I need to run through them and see. See like some I think the ones that are earlier to hit or that were weaker demands and things where I was more aggressive have gone through the zones, and others have held. So it's just variable. Anything that I was trying to be too aggressive on the long side, so for example like this on grass where there was a 5-day demand here, so I thought maybe it would give a bounce, just really gave nothing because the timing was off, but it's now hit a proper demand today. The only ones I've had in today are quick. I had the short entry that someone shared, one of my groups shared in my free Telegram channel. So that came up. It did give the 2-hour rejection yesterday. Came up a little bit higher. I think it still wouldn't be stopped out. He did have quite a tight stop on it, but I think that still wouldn't have been stopped out, and is now giving a decent rejection off there. And as I've said, and I probably still stand by it, and maybe longs are becoming a bit more viable now, but I have said a few times in the last couple of weeks that my preference has been look for the stuff that's pumped. So quick, you can see here, IP is pumped today up into a 2-hour supply that I had. Rare is another one. SLC is being a bit crazy. Let me have a look at Rare quickly. Anything that pumps up into supply, look for shorts. Like that is, for me, so far these last few weeks has been the highest probability trades. So Rare, I had an alert for the 2-month and it came up into a 5-day inside the 2-month supply. One of the ones I said that kind of ran through the 3-weekly and went higher inside, but again has rejected. I did set an alert earlier today for this 4-hour supply here if it comes up for another retest. So you can keep an eye on that if it does get the retest in there. I mean, not loads are getting the pumps, unless we're getting more now over the last couple of days, which since I've been sick I haven't really noticed. I think Prom was another one. Let me see, Prom. Oh no, Prom was me being more aggressive on the long side actually on this. I think this was a pump that we had a long while ago. No, I can't remember now. I think there was another one that came in recently. This is another one, Gnosis that we had in towards the end of February. Again, it's got a very big pump, single candle up into 5-day weekly supply, and it's just dumped straight off there. So any of these pumps, I've just been saying that the highest probability trades for the last month or so has been to short these aggressive pumps, while everybody else is trying to long. So having said that, now I've had 150 alerts go off and we have had a decent sized dump. It is possible we're coming up to a time where longs might become more viable, so we shall see. While I will quickly look at where others is at. So US dollar dominance is still like pushing up through this 2-month supply, week supply. I was kind of looking at the levels we could get a bounce on, and similar to Bitcoin now, it's got multiple levels because it's not been falling back to test properly. But yeah, I've said before that it's in 2-month supply, so I was kind of hoping for more of a decent retracement than that. So hoping for a more decent retracement than it's given so far. But because it's coming from a swing fair of the low, it could go up and take a swing fair of the high into 3-month supply up there before it even wants to reject significantly. But those are the kind of levels I'm looking at should it drop a bit deeper inside. Bitcoin. Yeah, these are daily charts I'm looking at the moment, but they vary. They're not all daily. So let me just quickly look at others before I sign off. Just to see. So I kind of said in my last update that, yeah, this is clinging on. This is really starting to cling on by a thread here. It's similar to the Ether chart. My concern with this was the bigger structure of the possible double top, plus this triangle distribution structure, which we were forming similar here. It's less distribution on this, to be fair, but that was my concern on this. Similarly, exactly the same as the Ether chart. This is weak demand because it was unable to. This did break the high, but didn't really significantly break the high. Same here, weak demand broke this high, but not really as similar levels of significance probably to this, but also didn't break all-time highs. So while we can expect possibly to get a bounce here, it's weak demand, so it may not work. I still would, in a perfect world, like to get a bit of a bounce up into 3-week supply, and then I'd look for a bigger drop on this. But again, we just need to see those signs. So this is kind of how all those majors charts are looking. As I said, you know, we've got a 5-day supply, we've got a weekly supply, we've got untested 2 and 3 week above there. We're clinging to demand by a thread, and it's not strong demand. But it would be nice if we get a mini alt season just to get even up into here. Let me see total 3. So total 3 I think is pretty much the same. This is holding a little bit higher because the majors are a bit stronger. So we're holding the top of this 3-month zone, so it could drop a bit deeper inside the zone. The amount of times I've moved this line is unreal, but yeah, it keeps putting it back. This has again swing failed the high, so we've got to again run the risk of that larger double top pattern. But again, just need to see what kind of a reaction we get on this demand as we come into this area. And TOTALDEFI I think was looking a lot worse. So yeah, TOTALDEFI seems to be a bit more broken down. It's broken the trend line. And yeah, it's not going to be good for alts if we drop all the way back down here. And whether that's likely, I don't know. I mean, it obviously means that a whole lot of people have to exit the market to have it drop to 2021 levels or even lower. Back to 2017, 2018 levels, but yeah, it's certainly not a particularly promising looking pattern here right now. But yeah, still on demand for now, but I would look for shorts should we get to each of these supply zones. Yeah, last I looked, BTC dominance is still holding, so we've got a rejection of 6-month supply, so I would like to see, you know, BTC dominance drop. But a lot of people are saying if BTC dominance drops, then the money's going to flow into others and into alts, and therefore we'd see it flow into others' dominance. But again, I'm not seeing that on the chart. Okay, we're getting very tight little consolidation in here now, so I guess it could break either way, but like this again, I would like to see this lower. So for me, I see the money flowing into, so I can see that potentially happening on this. So I see the money flowing into US dollar tether dominance first, and then maybe this later, maybe that once this comes down here. And again, just with the hope that we're going to get a push up in the interim, or push up before that happens. But you know, I can be wrong. We are at support. Here on the others chart, on the others market cap chart, you know, we are in demand, so it's possible we get pushes up here that make new highs, but I don't know, my sense is that the probability are that, you know, we get some sort of a bounce and then we drop further. Anyway, my voice is now starting to fail me, so I am going to love you and leave you. And if you have any questions, please let me know on Telegram. If you like this and want to see more, please like and subscribe. I'll make some YouTube shorts for it later to try and entice in people with lower attention spans. Although I'm not sure if my summaries are short enough to make into YouTube shorts today. Excuse the voice and excuse the haphazardness of the stream as well. I will be hopefully more on the ball when I get it fully better. And yeah, and then, oh no, I promised, before I completely sign off, I said I would look at the indices again for Ozymandias. So, do I think this is the start of a bigger reversal, was the question. Hi Trex Forex. Don't people come in and talk to me just as I'm about to leave. Yeah, I'm just answering one final question for Ozymandias. So, I'm not sure which, I mean, you said US indices in general was the question, I guess. So, Russell's a bit different, so let's go on Nasdaq first. So Nasdaq, one thing I just noticed earlier, while I hate trend lines on any kind of FX, we are breaking this long-term trend line, which may get some panic selling. I'm just going to light a cigarette because it's been an hour and a half. and ironically, when you smoke, it stops you coughing. So, just hide my drawings because the chart's a complete mess and I really need to clean it up. So, we are still in an uptrend. I need to put the drawings back so I can actually draw on it, unfortunately. So obviously we are still in an uptrend. Pull up, retrace, pull up, bigger retrace, pull up, retrace. So we still need to kind of break below here to say we're in a higher time frame downtrend. Obviously, if that's the weekly chart, and if I look at the daily chart, then clearly, obviously, we have broken and we're in a daily downtrend. From a monthly perspective, we're on 2-month demand here. We did run through a monthly, I think, or is that just S&P? Yeah, so we ran through, we had the monthly demand there. We ran through that into the 2-monthly demand. Not overly surprising, it's not the best monthly demand there. So yes, it does kind of look like we're starting a downtrend. And this is probably the first time I've said it in a while. Like, I think a lot of people were saying, maybe, was it here? Or was it here? I think in August last year, and I was railing against it. I think here, when we started to have this down move last year, people started calling for a recession, but everything just dropped back into monthly demand, so I wasn't thinking a recession then at all. Now, however, like back then, when you can see we had large green candles pushing up, now I feel like the trend is definitely weakened and it's definitely dying off. And that doesn't mean it's not going to pick up. We are in 2-month demand, so I don't want to be overly bearish, but having broken through the first monthly makes me a lot more wary now. So we still need to break this low in order to be kind of in a downtrend. I did a lot on Sol earlier, Trex Forex. So if you scroll back in the video, in the stream, I talked a lot about Sol. And my thoughts on it earlier, and the Sol BTC pair as well. So while we still need to break here to break the last swing low, a significant swing low, obviously we're now starting to, it's fumbling a bit. We barely got any bounce, so we hit the monthly demand, and where you'd normally at least expect a bounce up to supply, we barely got any bounce. So I've had all these alerts in. So I had an alert for the monthly, I had an alert for the 2-monthly, and I had an alert for the 3-week inside the 2-month. But each of these bounces so far anyway has only managed to get itself up, in this case up to daily supply. I think in this case it was up to an 8-hour or something like that, and so far here we're just still trying. I thought we'd fail again today. Actually, it looked potentially like we might go lower. We still have this gap here, so this could still go lower in the zone. But what we really need to see to know if this is a bigger reversal is the retest. So this could drop as much as it likes, but until we see a retest of the weekly supply. So are we going to hold this 2-month demand and push up for an all-time high? Possible, still possible, we're still in an uptrend. However, we now are building significant supply above, and now we've broken at least significant demand. So it's starting to become to the point that we might be seeing a bigger down move. But we're still in a 2-monthly demand, so again, I don't want to be super bearish. Oops. I don't want to be super bearish, but you can clearly see, we've got a DOGE top candle and indecision candle, and then now potentially we're looking at, well, it's still a month and a half till this closes. If I look at the monthly chart, maybe, and again, we just need to see the candle close. Is this monthly going to close as a giant swing failure on the monthly? Thanks, Trex Forex. I'm not sure why I need good luck, but in general, good luck. Do you mean good luck in thinking this is a reversal? I don't know, I still think it's early days, but I just think this is the closest it's come to it, I think, since back in, 2022. Like these ones, which other people were calling for reversals, I very much wasn't calling for a reversal, but now I can see the momentum's weakening, and I can see, but I do want to see this monthly candle close, because if we've got, we've still got 18 days of the month left, 19 days of the month, maths failing me, no worries at Ozymandias. We could still swing fail this monthly and close with an aggressive candle, so we need to see, but I want to see though that weekly retested. And then monthly Heikin Ashi turning red for the first time since a while. Yeah, so there are signs, aren't there? Like, yeah, I suppose you can see it yourself. I don't particularly look at Heikin Ashi, but yeah, Heikin Ashi is what the average of 2 candles, isn't it? If I recall rightly, I haven't used it for a while. But you know, but even then, like, you know, when we had this decent sized drop here, we retested and we just came into a triangle. So it's, again, you know, just because we reject it doesn't necessarily mean, but we need to see the downtrend form if it's going to form. But yeah, there are just signs that it's not looking great. Momentum dying off, breaking monthly demand, still holding structure for now, but there are signs. S&P similar. And yeah, so like Ozymandias said at the start of the stream, I also said on Nasdaq, you know, if it does pull a 61 fib retracement like it did back in 2022, it could get down to 15k. So it's certainly be a very nice trade if it does happen. But you know, these are also up only, so assuming, you know, up only for extended periods of time. So assuming, I don't know if you're trading or if you're investing, but yeah, it's obviously a high risk to look for shorts to hold for extended periods of time on these. Mouse got stuck. So S&P is the same, like it had monthly demand, it's broken it, could still close as a swing failure. Its next significant zone is 1 month demand down here that's already been tested. And then it's got the annual. So I don't necessarily think I'm bearish on these, like, you know, that we're going to go to 0 or anything crazy, but I mean, it's pretty bearish to think the price is going to, that's going to be 33% down if it comes back down into monthly demand. So S&P back in 2020 to 2022 retraced to the 50% fib, so the 50% would coincide just about with that annual level. So that could be interesting. My next alert is for the monthly, but again, this is now may create a monthly supply as well, but at the moment already has, I think, 2 weekly in there, weekly and 2 weekly. So again, just need to see the retests. So I've got them all alerted. So if you're in I don't know if you're in my FX analysis group where you get these alerts, or if you look at my Twitter, Ozymandias, which had a name that was easier to pronounce. But yeah, if you're in my FX channel, you'll see the alerts. But these ones haven't been going very well. I mean, they're giving mini bounces, but yeah, so that was the monthly level, but only bounced also similar to Nasdaq straight up into daily supply. And this one is a 2 week and a 3 week, I think I had alerted together. And again, so far isn't really doing a great deal. Again, a bit of a gap down to a 12-hour in here, and then could fill significant gaps below that have been left behind as well. And this, I mean, I suppose the lower time frame, you can see the structures rolling over a lot more on that. And this is also broken significantly. So this has been broken a lot more significantly weekly levels. So actually Nasdaq doesn't look as bad, does it? When you look at the weekly. Nasdaq aren't really as significant swings. So that's why we're sort of just taking the swing low to be down right around the 17k level. Because they're not really, it's broken weekly demand, but it's not as clear swings as the S&P has a bit more clean swings that have been broken, so it's kind of looks like it's broken weekly swing lows as well. But I guess still the last cleanest up move is here. But again, that's also double top, it swing failed the high and can have that bigger drop. Dow was the same, or Dow had a lower high. But again, the annual demand's still a lot lower. And this, yeah, again, it's a very clear double top on this now. So it does look, these do look like they're having one, and they've already had bigger reversals, but whether they're going to come down all the way down to these yearly, I still need to see a bit more on the retest front. But the Dow did have already had the lower high of the retest, and S&P already had a swing failure. The other one to note on the high time frame, although I think it doesn't align as well with the major indices, because Russell 2000 is those 2000 small companies, is it small to medium enterprises, I believe. But this, remember I was looking a while ago for the swing fail of this high, so I got a really nice short off the swing fail of that high, which it did, whereas all the others broke out, this one didn't. This is now ploughing its way. It had monthly demand, it had 3 monthly demand, it's now just dropping all the way deep into 3 month demand here. And if this wants to, I mean, it did swing fail below. Somebody's screaming outside my house. You know, that could come and take out this low, because again, similar to how I've been describing all of crypto, this is weak demand. If that weak demand is unable to take out these sellers, then this can potentially come significantly lower. So that's kind of going to be an interesting thing to watch. And I suppose it's quite kind of interesting in the context of what Trump's doing, actually, and all his tariffs and things like that. I mean, are they, I don't really know the economic impacts, but are they going to be massively affecting small companies over the larger companies? It seems like that might be the case, because the larger companies can probably have the funds to divert elsewhere, or to choose different suppliers, or not pass on to the customer the extra increased rates, increased taxes, whereas small companies are probably going to be less able to do that. They haven't got the margin to compete. So you might find, yeah, that this is going to see a bigger drop as a result of the tariffs. But at least anyway, having taken out this high, I think now, while we may not take out the overall low, there's equal lows here. So I think coming down to this level, again, I would have liked a bounce in between. This has also got monthly supply. So again, this is showing already the biggest sign of a bigger downtrend. So I'd like to see a rejection on monthly supply here. And potentially at least coming down and take out these lows into this 3 month demand down here. If not, significantly lower. Anyway, yeah, I'm definitely going to leave it now. I hope that's useful. I'm tired. I'll try and do, so I've still got to do more alt updates. So I will try and do the T's either tomorrow or Friday on the watch list, and eventually I'll get to the end of the watch list, and then I can actually start doing some more current stuff and look at the things that people are interested in on a daily basis, rather than just do my entire watch list. Even though virtually every alert's gone off, so I need to redo the whole thing anyway. But it was mainly to do, part of the reason I was doing the alt watch list is because I was trying to do all the yearly updates to see where the yearly levels was, the yearly 6 month, 3 month, 1 month, 2 month, 1 month levels were. And because I hadn't really updated everything for a while. Plus it gives me quite a good sense of the market as a whole if I really run through large chunks of the list. And it's been quite useful doing it through this recent, so I've been doing it, I guess, since, let's go down to, since the start of the year, so it's kind of here. So it's interesting that, so around here I did the A's, B's, C's and D's, and then after the drop, I was doing, the JK's, L's and M's, and then down to the S's kind of in the last week or so. It's been interesting, but it means we always have new alerts. So, where I've been kind of then putting more aggressive short alerts on as we came into here, we got some more shorts in, and we've got some shorts left behind up here that we may then get hit on the A's, B's and C's that were less certain at the time, so I wasn't so aggressively shorting on the A's, B's and C's in the earlier of the month, and I was more aggressively shorting later. And now we've had loads and loads of longs hit that would be on for these A's, B's and C's, and as well as later in the alphabet. So it'll be interesting to see how the T's are now looking once I get onto those properly. So yeah, I'm not sure if I'll finish them in order to be able to stream them tomorrow. I should be able to, maybe, if I'm feeling better, since now I actually should be able to sleep. But yeah, anyway, if you're enjoying this, please like and subscribe. Any requests, please hit me up on Telegram or in the chat here. And yeah, let me know your thoughts. Let me know if there's anything you want to see or anything you want to see less of. And have a good night.